Episode 56, KGG, Part 7. Argument 4, Parallel track use of NAAQS standards alongside continuation of flawed EPA wood stove certification. The 10 parts to this episode 56 KG. See Part 1. Episode 56, KGA, EPA Airnow maps are like one sensor on a PurpleAir PM2.5 Monitor map, PAX 0.5140, plus 1.8304. See Part 2. Episode 56, KGB Ring cameras catching Porch pirates are like one sensor on a PurpleAir PM2.5 Monitor map. See Part 3. Episode 56 KGC radar guns catching automobile speeders in a neighborhood with a speed limit are like one sensor on a PurpleAir PM2.5 Monitor map. See Part 4. Episode 56 KGD Breathalyzer Tests, breath alcohol tests, catching automobile drunk drivers in a neighborhood with a speed limit are like one sensor on a PurpleAir PM2.5 Monitor map. See Part 5. Episode 56 KGE. If episodes 56 KGA through D are challenged, baseline can be established by PurpleAir Map region data. If the above 4 tests are challenged in court, average baseline readings above 0 on a PurpleAir map can serve as a baseline above 0 for one PurpleAir PM2.5 monitor's reading used to shut down an indoor wood burner. If a law has been passed, ordinance, state law or federal law, or grant project has established a program for exchange of a wood stove for a heat pump, and reward of a heat pump to the near neighbor whose PurpleAir monitor has detected exceedance of national ambient air quality standards, NAAQS, by nearby indoor wood burning. See Part 6. Episode 56, KGF, Argument for use of NAAQS standards for PM2.5 for wood stove emissions rather than certification of wood stoves. This is Part 7. Episode 56 KGG, Argument for Parallel track use of NAAQS standards alongside continuation of flawed EPA wood stove certification. In 1989, just 1 year after 1988's flawed wood stove certification program began, Dr. Anthony Fauci introduced the concept of parallel track for AIDS treatment. 1. What is parallel track both in 1989 and 2023? Dr. Anthony Fauci, in his role as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, NAAQS, in midst of fighting AIDS, asked the President of the United States to allow a parallel track of actions by the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, Office of Clinical Trials to broaden its rules for clinical trials to allow more than one drug to be administered during one clinical trial. The history of Dr. Anthony Fauci's 1989 parallel track. One of the side effects of AZT treatment of AIDS is blindness. Ganciclovir was found to prevent the blindness caused by use of AZT. In March of 1987, the FDA approved zidovudine, AZT, as the first antiretroviral drug for the treatment of AIDS after an FDA AZT clinical trial was completed for the AIDS drug in an action long sought by AIDS patients and their advocates. The Food and Drug Administration in June 1989 approved the use of 2 AIDS drugs simultaneously, one drug of which, ganciclovir, had not undergone a rigorous clinical trial yet to treat serious complications of AIDS infections. On June 27, 1989, the New York Times reported that an AIDS drug, ganciclovir, pronounced ganciclovir, was approved for full-scale marketing without even undergoing a rigorous clinical trial. Ganciclovir, which is used to treat a viral infection of the eye that blinds many AIDS patients, is only the 4th drug to win full marketing approval for the treatment of AIDS or its complications. The parallel track was the actions of a clinical trial conducted by the FDA plus an expansion of a clinical trial to use a drug which had not completed a clinical trial, at the request of another federal agency, NIAID. The result of parallel track in 1989 was improved health outcomes for people with AIDS and prevention of many deaths and/or prevention of blindness from use of AZT in the quest to gain improved health outcomes for AIDS patients. In 2023, the use of a parallel track could include 1. Continued certification of wood stoves, plus 2. The use of NAAQS standards applied to use of PM2.5 limits demonstrated with data from a subsidized hyperlocalized PurpleAir PM2.5 monitor placed in the yard of any near neighbor who complains to their health department of wood smoke from an indoor wood burner entering their yards and sickening them. 2023 parallel track would involve the federal administrations of both the 1. EPA and 2. NAAQS. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates has written letters to, and urged readers of RAWSE President's website to write letters to both the 1. 10 Attorneys General suing the EPA over wood stove certification and 2. The current NAAQS Director Gene Marazzo, who replaced Dr. Anthony Fauci in the last few months, urging adoption of this 2023 version of parallel track. 2. From Part 6, Argument for use of NAAQS standards for PM2.5 for wood stove emissions rather than certification of wood stoves. Part 6. Argument for use of NAAQS standards for PM2.5 for wood stove emissions rather than certification of wood stoves. Wood stove certification is flawed according to a February 2023 report by the Office of the Inspector General, OIG, known as the watchdog of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. 10 United States state attorney generals or assistant attorney generals cited this OIG report in their lawsuit against the EPA, which commenced in September 2023. In the lawsuit, some of the allegations of the 10 attorneys general were that the EPA, under its wood stove certification program, allowed manufacture and sale of indoor wood burners that were emitting as much pollution as wood stoves did in 1988, when the EPA wood stove certification began. The reasons for no progress in manufacture and sale of cleaner wood stoves were loopholes to compliance with wood stove certification standards because of lobbying by wood stove manufacturers for lax standards or no compliance with even lax standards. The EPA in initial reply to the 10 attorney generals even before they filed the lawsuit was that no change to EPA procedures of certifying wood stoves could possibly or probably happen before 2027. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates believes that continuing wood stove certification, as is, at least until 2027 does not protect human health. The EPA set the indoor residential wood stove certification emission limit for PM2.5 for cordwood burning, as of 2020, at 2 grams per hour. RAWSE Presidents has calculated that burning continuously even at this 2 gram per hour limit will cause PM2.5 levels above national ambient air quality standards of 12 micrograms per cubic meter annually and above 35 micrograms per cubic meter in a 24-hour period automatically in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. That is why Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates would like use of a PM2.5 NAAQS safe level compliance demonstrated from data from a PurpleAir PM2.5 monitor placed in the yard of a near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner whose wood smoke infiltrates the yard of near neighbors and sickens the near neighbors, to replace the flawed EPA wood stove certification program. RAWSE Presidents is writing a grant to hand out PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors to any near neighbor of an indoor wood burner whose smoke enters the yard of the near neighbor and sickens the near neighbor. After the PurpleAir PM2.5 monitor proves the PM2.5 level from an indoor wood burner is above PM2.5 NAAQS limits, the near neighbor should be able to work with their local health department or other enforcement agency to shut down the indoor residential wood burner permanently. The second part of the grant that RAWSE Presidents is writing would allow RAWSE Presidents to hand out highly subsidized heat pumps that work at 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit to the near neighbor who has made the complaint and the indoor wood burner who gives up the indoor residential wood burner permanently. The result of these two actions, the handing out of subsidized PM2.5 monitors and the handing out of heat pumps, will result in a healthier community and will make inroads on slowing climate change. RAWSE Presidents would like this grant project to work as a pilot project for the federal, state and local governments to emulate. 3. The parallel track may have to happen because the EPA may not give up its wood stove certification program, since they are insisting in reply to the 10 attorney generals that no changes to the wood stove certification program can happen until at least 2027. That would presumably include ending the wood stove certification program altogether. The wood stove certification program employs federal workers, pays subsidies for polluting wood stoves, and spends time communicating extensively with wood stove manufacturers and sellers. Although tax dollars spent on a flawed program that does not achieve its presumed aims even after 35 years in existence may seem like a waste of taxpayer money and contribution to continued pollution that harms human health and hastens climate change, the wheels of government move slowly, apparently. Resident user-owned $229 PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors are now placed alongside $100,000 PM2.5 monitors on Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, maps of smoke and fire https://fire.airnow.gov as well as on the PurpleAir PM2.5 map https://map.purpleair.com. $100,000 EPA PM2.5 monitors physically collect PM2.5 from the air and separate the PM2.5 into lighter wood density PM2.5 and heavier gravel density PM2.5, and weigh each of the two densities separately as the basis for PM2.5 data from $100,000 monitors put on Airnow maps of smoke and fire. $229 PurpleAir PM2.5 Monitor. See the PM2.5 passing before a laser and count the number of PM2.5 particulates that pass before the laser within a 10-minute span of time. After 10 minutes, the PurpleAir PM2.5 data is put on the PurpleAir Map for each sensor. This makes PurpleAir PM2.5 data superior to EPA data because data published every 10 minutes is essentially real-time data. Because the $100,000 EPA PM2.5 monitor has to divide the PM2.5 into two density IPs, www.tiktok.com/@rospresidents/video/729286676993640727550 is _from_webapp equals 1 and sender_device equals PC and web_ID equals 7288319674021250603s and weigh each density. The EPA $100,000 monitor only publishes its data every hour. To correlate the two data sets, to allow the two data sets to appear alongside each other on the Airnow maps of smoke and fire, the U.S. government assumes that although PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors are accurate and accepted by the U.S. government as accurate and reliable, the U.S. government assumes that PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors read high. So each state of the United States has a formula that it applies to the PurpleAir PM2.5 data before the PurpleAir PM2.5 data is put on Airnow maps of smoke and fire. In Wisconsin, that simple mathematical formula applied to PurpleAir PM2.5 data is PAX 0.5140 plus 1.8304. For instance, if the reading on a PurpleAir map was 28, the data for that 10-minute point would be 28 by 0.5140 plus 1.8304, get out your calculators or Excel spreadsheets, equal to 16.2224. 16.2224 is above the annual National Ambient Air Quality Standards of 12 micrograms per meter cubed, NAAQS, of PM2.5, but below the 24-hour NAAQS standard of 35, and below what citizens of the United States who testified in an EPA hearing in February 2023 would like NAAQS to be, which would be 8 micrograms per cubic meter, 8 UG/M3, as the annual standard and 25 as the 24-hour standard. To be at or above a future 24-hour standard of 25 micrograms per cubic meter, a PurpleAir PM2.5 reading would have to be 46.8077. This is using the opposite equation, 25 divided by 0.514 and then subtracting 1.8304. To be at or above the current 24-hour standard of 35 micrograms per cubic meter, a PurpleAir PM2.5 reading would have to be 66.2629. This is using the opposite equation, 35 divided by 0.514 and then subtracting 1.8304. To be at or above a future annual standard of 8 micrograms per cubic meter, a PurpleAir PM2.5 reading would have to be 13.7338. This is using the opposite equation, 8 divided by 0.514 and then subtracting 1.8304. To be at or above the current annual standard of 12 micrograms per cubic meter, a PurpleAir PM2.5 reading would have to be 21.5159. This is using the opposite equation, 12 divided by 0.514 and then subtracting 1.8304. Conversion PA map to Airnow map data 25 UG/M3 2024. 24-hour standard NAAQS PM2.535 UG/M3 2023. 24-hour standard NAAQS PM2.58 UG/M3 2024. Annual standard NAAQS PM2.512 UG/M3 2023. Annual standard NAAQS PM2.5. PA 46.807766.2629113.733821.5159. Airnow 25-35-812. The World Health Organization, WHO, annual PM2.5 standard is 5 micrograms per cubic meter. Bringing the PM2.5 safe standard down to 8 in the United States would bring the U.S. safe standard nearer to the WHO standard. What is the purpose of the EPA Airnow maps of smoke and fire? This summer of 2023, millions of Americans had their airspace invaded by wildfire smoke from Canadian wildfires. Airnow maps of smoke and fire were consulted to find if outside air was safe to exercise in or so unsafe that people were advised to stay inside their sealed homes and use air purifiers to cleanse the air which seeped into even well-sealed homes. Welcome America in 2023 to the world of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners, whose wood burning smoke infiltrates the yards of near neighbors, and infiltrates near neighbors' homes, if homes are not tightly sealed or if doors or windows are opened. Up to now, PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors have been used only to inform residents of the air quality of their yards, neighborhoods, regions, states, and nation. Some United States and regions have chosen to use data taken directly from Airnow maps of smoke and fire to issue requests that citizens stop all indoor residential wood burning or stop only certain forms of indoor residential wood burning until Airnow maps readings reach a certain lower level of PM2.5 pollution. Residents against wood smoke emission particulates would like PurpleAir PM2.5 monitor data to be used as evidence of the level of PM2.5 pollution entering near neighbors' yards. Location of monitors in near neighbors' yards used as either measurement at the stack if near neighbors' monitors are placed very close to the wood burning stack or fence line measurement if near neighbors' monitors are placed slightly farther away. Any PM2.5 monitor has to be placed hyperlocally to catch and measure the smoke from an indoor wood burner. $100,000 EPA PM2.5 monitors are fewer in number than resident-owned PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors. $100,000 EPA PM2.5 monitors are also placed usually near industrial facilities to catch PM2.5 emissions from industry. PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors in the yards of near neighbors are usually hyperlocalized near indoor residential wood burners. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, RAWSE presidents, believes there need to be more and more hyperlocalized PM2.5 monitors near indoor residential wood burners. Wood smoke is 90% PM2.5, particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Wood burning emits more PM2.5 and CO2 than the fossil fuel coal burning. Wood burning emits 450 times the PM2.5 than the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Heat pumps emit no appreciable level of PM2.5. In 2023, there are heat pumps that work at 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates is writing a grant to hand a PurpleAir PM2.5 monitor to any near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner whose smoke enters the near neighbor's yard and sickens the near neighbor. If the near neighbor's PM2.5 monitor shows PM2.5 levels above NAAQS, that evidence should be enough to shut down the indoor residential wood burner. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates is writing the second part of the grant to offer heavily subsidized heat pumps to any near neighbor who complains of the wood smoke entering their yard and would like a heat pump. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates would also like to offer heavily subsidized heat pumps to indoor residential wood burners who end their wood burning forever in exchange for a heat pump. RAWSE presidents would like this grant-funded pilot project to serve as a template for the federal government to pass laws, or state or local government pass laws to hand out PurpleAir PM2.5 monitors, use the monitors as the basis for shutting down PM2.5 polluting indoor residential wood burners, and offer heavily subsidized heat pumps in return for turning in indoor residential wood burners and pledging not to burn wood residentially again. The next 3 parts of this 10-part series are: Part 8. Episode 56KGH, What A to G have to do with grant proposal by Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates Corporation, a 501c3 organization. Part 9. Episode 56KGI. What PurpleAir users groups could do to support RAWSE President's Grant. Part 10. Episode 56KGJ, The Unscientific Myth of Carbon Neutrality of Wood Burning explains why wood smoke pollution is not controlled.